Welcome back to the Lift and Glow Fitness podcast. Today I'm here with the team. We've got Lois and Jen with us, and we're going to talk today all about losing weight without tracking calories. But we're not just going to talk about losing weight, we're just going to talk about general healthy habits around food. But you might have been led to believe that you cannot lose weight unless you track calories. It's going around on Instagram, it's going around on TikTok. There's lots of coaches who truly do believe that the only way to manage your weight is by tracking calories. I always like to think, well, before we had iPhones, before we had technology, people were still able to lose weight. So I'm pretty sure that we can still lose weight without tracking calories. Yeah. There's a lot of my clients who I still coach who don't track. Yeah. And so I know that it's possible to lose weight without tracking. So let's get into it, because it is actually, I've got to be honest, right? As soon as I became a PT, it was the automatic, right? Let's track calories. Yeah. This is your calorie
goal.
Target. This is your calorie target. This is your protein target. You've got to track calories because then I can see it. And it was always with the view of, if you track your food, I can see your food. And so if I can see your food, I can help you with it. Yeah. And in a way, I do still have that belief because I often say to clients, like, you can choose not to tell me what you eat, but then it's harder for me to help you. Yeah. So instead of like tracking food, a lot of my clients will take photos of food. Yeah. And alongside the photos, they have like a description. This is what it is. Yeah. That works perfectly.
Just as well. Yeah. I have clients that
really works really well.
Yeah.
Food diaries, written food diaries. So, you know, we've got clients who have good success without tracking. Yeah. And I probably didn't believe that a few years ago, but I also think that was because I didn't want to coach them properly, or maybe didn't know how to coach them properly with the habits and with the like. I think a lot of people underestimate that a lot of food is a mindset thing and like ingrained habit thing. So it's not always about simplifying it to tracking calories. No. I kept finding myself working with clients who would get results when tracking and then lose them when they stopped. Mm-hmm. So for me, I was like, they're not learning from tracking calories. Yeah. Like they're not, it isn't doing what, it's working when we do it, but it's not setting them up for life. Yeah. Which is when I started implementing new ways of helping them.
You want to create a sustainable way of it. And like we've said, haven't we before, like tracking calories, it is a good tool. We're not saying like tracking calories.
It's a start sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a really, listen, like I have plenty of times when I've been in a fat loss phase, I've tracked my calories and it's worked for me. But there's been times where I haven't tracked my calories and it's still worked. So it's just about, I feel like now, like you said, Instagram, TikTok, this is like a big thing. Everyone just knows calories, tracking your calories. And I feel like as a coach, where you said that, like, I feel like when you're starting off as a coach and that, you sort of feel like, because it's been ingrained that much about calories, you feel like, should I have to give them a calorie goal? Like, I'm not a good coach if I, like, and obviously, I feel like it depends on the person. You have to see some people do not want to track calories. And like you said, people will lose weight still, but it's about like looking at your relationship with your food, like your habits outside of your food, your day-to-day activities and stuff, and portion control, everything. It doesn't always have to be about calories, and it can be quite. It can't, like, for some
mentally restrictive sometimes.
Yeah, and it can be not enjoyable.
But mentally restrictive, knowing you've got a certain amount of numbers a day, and if you go over that number by 1, 2, 3, it's like the end of the world.
Sometimes it's an unhealthy thing for people, how your and it actually doesn't help them. It can go the opposite way, and I've had clients before go like, oh, Jen, I'm not tracking anymore. Like, I don't like this. And I'm like, well, okay, that's absolutely fine. If you don't want to do this, tell me why. And it's like people feel very overwhelmed and under pressure, and that's not the goal. For us as coaches, I think you want it to be enjoyable and it's like you said.
But whilst achieving a result at the same time.
100%.
So there's got to be some level of measurability, like as Hay said in the beginning, whether it's a food diary to begin with, whether you're tracking it's just a start, like as a means to an end, or just solid education, like from your coach or from like your own research. I think it has to come from a start point of an interest in nutrition. But if that interest only goes as far as a number, then you're not going to learn anything about it, because we're fortunate enough that we've done other research around just the numbers that we can give people a figure, but we sometimes forget that all they know is that number. So I think that's where some coaches and ourselves perhaps in the past have gone wrong, is thinking that like they understand all the rest of the things, but they're just looking at a number on a screen.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like restrictive in that way.
Yeah. So I do think tracking calories is a good tool. But I think it's a good tool for if you're going to do it properly. Yeah. So what we have to remember is that habit building and mindful eating have to happen regardless of the way that we do it.
Yeah.
So if we track calories or don't track calories, we still need to build habits and we still need to eat more mindfully for it to be a long-term thing, because everyone's ultimate goal, if you do start tracking calories, should be to one day not. Yeah. So like if you
it's not a forever thing.
If you are tracking calories and losing weight, but then regaining it when you stop, the work is not done. What we need to work on is your education around food, your mindfulness in day-to-day decision making with food, and also your general just habits. So like if you always fall back, it's because we haven't learned the habits. If you always fall back, it's because you're not being mindful with your food.
It becomes a comfort blanket,
so it always has these things have to happen anyway. Like your mindful eating, your habit building around food, they have to happen alongside tracking. But it doesn't have to, you don't have to track to do those things. You don't have to track to still lose weight. So I think like a lot of people, like you said, you simplify it to the numbers. You think calories, you think protein. And this is why I don't coach that way. So like I have never, well, probably did at the start of my journey, but not in the last however many years. I don't just go, there's a calorie target, there's a protein target. I'm like, right, here's a calorie target, here's a protein target. They are a guide, but here is the education around nutrition. Fibre is important. We want your 5 fruit and veg a day. We want to have 3 well-portioned, complete meals throughout the day. Snacking should be reduced. Here's how to handle eating out at restaurants. Here's how to make better decisions. Here's how to be more mindful every single day. So like mindful eating, things like just sitting and having a breath before you decide what you're going to eat. Sitting and having a breath before you, so say like if you're, oh my God, I need chocolate, need a chocolate. Yeah. It's like, hang on a minute. Instead of going for the chocolate,
what else could
breathe,
this be? Yeah.
Ask yourself, how do I feel?
Yeah.
Am I stressed?
Am I genuinely hungry?
Yeah.
Or am I feeling something else?
Yeah.
Is it an emotion? Is it stress? Is it fatigue?
Is it boredom?
Is it boredom? And it's like, this is the thing with like these coaches that are just like, track calories, track calories. You're not doing any of the other stuff. Because all of the other stuff is harder. And it's more long term though. Like this is why all of us are the types of coaches who help people long term. And we don't do the aggressive, we were just talking before we recorded, we don't do the aggressive before and afters. We don't do the client photo shoots. We don't do any of that shit because our goal is health and our goal is longevity. So yes, we might use calorie tracking, but alongside that, we're talking about mindful eating. We're talking about emotional regulation. We're talking about actual building habits and just education around food.
One thing that I had to learn with tracking, because I used to do it quite like regularly, as maybe like let's say 4 or 5 years ago, I got diagnosed with PCOS. As again, I feel like I've said this loads, like I'm a broken record, but with the PCOS, it's so interesting because I'm now coaching a lot more girls with it too, or women. And I'm having learned this myself the hard way. Nutrient deficiency is so important, or like can be detrimental to PCOS and your symptoms. So tracking is all well and good if you have a fat loss goal, even if you have PCOS. However, if, for example, you're tracking your calories are 1,700 calories a day in a deficit, great, but you don't have any healthy fats in there, you don't have any fiber, you largely eat a carb-heavy diet, which is going to impact your insulin sensitivity, you might be fitting those calories very nicely to the standard coach who goes, what's going wrong here? Yeah. But to yourself and the nutrients that are being absorbed or not being absorbed for someone with maybe a hormone issue, it's not going to have the same outcome for someone who doesn't have that. So you've got to kind of look at the nutrients that you're ingesting. I would constantly lose periods, and it was only when I went to an endocrinologist, like a hormone specialist, that they told me and broke down my food diary and went, your healthy fats are nowhere where they need to be. And that deficiency is probably leading to the loss of your ovulation, which is leading to the loss of a period. And that's when I really clicked something that was like, this number is nothing to me now. Like it really is. Like I need to get away from this number and know that what I consume and the quality of that is so much more. And again, you don't have to have a hormone problem to do that. Just all women and men in general should be thinking about what they put in their body.
1,000%. And this is exactly why when we coach clients, like anyone who joins Lift and Glow, you don't just get a calorie target and a protein target.
No.
You get habits to tick off. We're focusing on fruit and veg. We're focusing on 3 nutritious meals. You get a whole educational course about how to feed yourself.
Yeah.
You get like guides. There's literally tons of guides showing you what meals look like. Guidelines for portion sizes if you don't want to track, you know, like using things like your hand to measure it. Like, so there's all these different tools that help with nutrition and help with health. And like, okay, counting calories can be helpful, but it isn't like the key. It isn't the answer.
Yeah.
It like assists,
It's just
but we need to, but we still need to do all of those other things. Like obviously, like I always say, like health isn't weight loss isn't health. And it's the same thing. You cannot simplify a number on the scales to health, and therefore you can't simplify a number of calories to health either. It's got to be, there's more to it.
There's more to it. I feel like with calories and over the years of this, God, years and years and years ago, I've done it all. But like I remember years ago, it would be, you know, you'd want to be on the lowest. Like if you're someone who hasn't got the knowledge and then you're like, right, okay, I need to track calories to lose weight. Okay. So I'm thinking back at like 2011, 2012 me. If someone told me that then, like I remember, because you used to be my coach, I remember I would go to Haley would say, what have you ate today, Jenny? And in my head, I would think, I want to save as many calories as I can. And I proper remember you saying to me, what have you had to eat? And I was like, just a cheese butty, Philadelphia butty. And you were like, right, okay, so where's
the rest of the calories?
What goodness, what like, is that healthy? Like, what am I getting out of this Philadelphia butty? Do you know what I mean? And I feel like people who haven't got the knowledge of it can be dangerous just saying, right, you need to track your calories, because there's been people going, okay, track your calories. Okay, well, I will fit a Big Mac into them calories and I am going to lose weight, and that's sound because I'm eating low calories every day. Like you said, it's an overall thing with health. That is not healthy.
Yeah.
You may lose weight because you are eating
starving.
Basically you are eating lower calories. So lower calories, you are going to lose weight. But what's going on to our insides? Like that is not healthy. So it's not all about not all about the number, is it?
I think the fixation with tracking calories simplifies it just to calories when we know it's more about just calories. Yeah. It always mind you, it shouldn't surprise me now because I've had it that many times. I get a lot of clients who have worked with other coaches and like, I just find it fascinating because they're like, oh, well, I'm eating this many calories. And then they'll do me a week of tracking, for example. And I'm like, so you've worked with somebody else, but this is what you're eating. And there's no nutrition. You're like, they're waking up and they're having just a protein shake. And then they're waking up, and then for the lunch, they're having, it's just
Philadelphia sandwich.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
And then for the dinner, it's just, I don't know, there's no complete meal.
Yeah.
Like there's no fruit and veg, there's no dietary fats. And I'm just like, where's the goodness? Like, it isn't.
And someone's let you do that in a position of power.
Like, paid someone to coach you, and all they've done is been like, yeah, you're within your calories. Yeah, you're within your calories.
Whereas you question,
hang on a minute, are you only getting your protein from protein shakes? Shall we get more meat in? Shall we get more fish in?
Food,
Where's your fruit and veg? When was the last time you went to the toilet? You know, like this person struggling with bloating or whatever.
It makes perfect sense.
Maybe it's because you eat 2 protein bars a day and you don't eat any fruit and veg. Yeah. Like there's so much more to getting a good result than just calories and just protein, which is why tracking isn't the only way to do it.
And I think as well, it's so individual. It depends on how you are and how you act as a person, but I've got quite an addictive personality. So over the time, this is something I've spoken openly about to my clients, maybe not as much on Instagram at the moment, but like I had a bad problem with binge eating disorder, and it's because of restriction. So when I first started tracking, this was probably back in like just before lockdown when it was all a big thing. Like when I first started tracking, it was like my only thing that I focused on at the time, because again, that's the nature of my personality. And I was buzzing, like I, lost this bit of weight. I felt super lean. I was doing like all these HIIT workouts every day, and it sort of like matched that aesthetic. But then again, like you said, hey, the minute you took me away from it, like I went on a holiday or I had a weekend away or I had to go out for a meal with Brad, when the lockdown lifted, I would sit at that table and I remember that I cried at a meal. I've done it more than once. I've cried at a meal because I was so frustrated that I couldn't comprehend that meal into my calories, and I couldn't. So it was like an inner frustration that I was like, I can't choose that on the menu, that's too many calories. And I cried, and he was like, I can't fucking be with you like this. So we had to change. But like genuinely,
sort yourself out,
sort yourself out.
Becomes
It's sad. It gets a grip of you, and it's like it gets its claws in. And I think that's one thing I've spoken about to clients, and I see it as a red flag sometimes when they become very fixated and they go like, oh, went out and I couldn't track it, but I tracked it as this instead. And I'm like, let's not like, pretend that's that on your tracking, because that doesn't matter to me. What did you choose? Oh, I chose a chicken and avocado bagel. And I'm like, okay, well, you've got your healthy fats in there. You've got some protein, some balanced carbs. Maybe we'll just change this later. Instead of thinking like, of getting that in your tracking as the main priority of your day. That's not my priority. It's what have you consumed? Okay, tomorrow we'll just, maybe, I don't know, focus on a little bit more balance with that lunch. Maybe we'll have some like whole grain rice instead. Yeah. It's absolutely fine to have days like that. It doesn't have to be perfect every single day. But when you are tracking, sometimes when it's got its claws in you anyway, it does feel that way.
Yeah, it can also make people think about food way too much.
Yeah.
So for example, like I've had clients who have tracked and all they think about is food. Yeah. They're hungry. Well, they think they're hungry. They want more food.
Food noise.
Because the tracking, food noise is huge, because you're tracking everything. If we take a break from tracking and I'm just like, right, tracking's not happening now, like we're not doing it. Instead, just tick these habits off on the app. So it's like your 3 high protein meals, your 5 fruit and veg, your water, and like your 1 daily indulgence. That's something that I will say to people. Yeah. 1 daily indulgence, like a little bit of chocolate every day. Never killed no one. Do you know what I mean? Just have your little one.
Track, like,
it's really good for the soul. Yeah, it's really good for the soul, for the mind.
Soul food.
And it just shows them that when we pull away tracking, but we still maintain like the healthy kinds of habits, the behaviors that we had, that you can still get great results. Yeah. Like you don't need to, it's very all or nothing to be like, I'm going to get results when I track and then I'm not when I don't.
I think my therapist once described it as like scarcity versus abundance mindset, because I couldn't comprehend why I was so addicted to it and why when I wasn't, I was like binging. And she was like, the thing is what do you do when a kid's in a sweet shop and you leave the room and you say, you cannot touch any of these sweets in this room right now. When I'm going to leave, I'm going to turn around, do not touch any of them. The kid is obviously going to go because they've been told that they can't have it. Whereas if you said, you know what, have a little look around, see what you fancy. You might not fancy it all. You might just fancy a little bit. And the kids might go and have like one of the sweets from the jars or 2 little things. Yeah. But if you're told that you cannot physically do something, you want it even more. And again, personalities differ. But scarcity, that's a scarcity mindset. Whereas the abundance mindset is when you're told that you can have it all, or you're told that, there's no restriction of a number on top of it. Let's just say even with the fat loss. And you're told you can do more steps, have, more dietary fiber, have more colour in your diet. It becomes less of like a mental restriction and you don't choose to have the more because again, it's just a psychological thing that we do.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I think a lot of like with tracking calories, we just go back to the nutrition side of things, that whole, what you're saying, having this abundance mindset is that like when we simplify it to tracking calories, it's like, right, I can't have this, I can't have that. And a lot of the time that includes like healthy food. So like, well, I can't have avocado because that's quite high, or I can't have olive oil, or I can't have cheese. Fucking cheese is joy. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, people are like, can't have this, can't have that. And it's like, well, no, we can have these things, but here's how we portion them. This is an appropriate portion. This is how to balance an entire meal. And just like not simplifying it just to calories, just to numbers, and thinking more, it's not nutrition. Like a calorie target is not nutrition.
No, it's
How
not.
often do you see them videos on Instagram? That's just popped into my brain from what you've just said, of like a coach comparing 2 meals.
I watch
going, this meal, avocado on toast, is 890 calories. This avocado on toast is 300 calories. And it looks the exact same, but they've put 60 grams of avocado on that one. And then, so I totally get that. Like it's abundance with moderation.
Yeah. But I thought you were going to say like, this is a bowl of Maltesers and this is...
Yeah, you see a lot of them
know what I mean?
as well.
And it's and they're saying...
And it shows like the volume of the food.
No, and they'll be like, you know, this is 300 calories. And they're like, so you may as well have. And I'm like, no.
You may as well have chicken and rice and veg. Well, I wanted Maltesers, so I tried chicken and rice and veg. But I get what you're saying. Like, you see these comparisons and they're not like correct comparisons to be making. But the one I was on about is when you see a video and it's like two of the same
just
thing.
His
versus his and stuff like that. But I just think it's being mindful, because you do actually think sometimes, oh shit, I didn't realise that would be like 900 calories because I'm having the whole avo instead of half.
Yeah.
And again, so sometimes we can go too far. So sometimes that tracking is just a tool to go, oh, that's what's in that. Okay, I'll learn from that and I'll move on. You don't have to do it every day. You've learned now. Move on from it.
And it can be a positive thing with people like as long as they've got the knowledge of everything else with it alongside it. So it is, I would say, a positive tool, but it, like you said before, it really does depend on your personality and who you are as a person, because it works different for everyone.
We've all got clients who do track.
Yeah.
But then we've got clients who it doesn't work for. So we're not saying blanket at all. No one should.
But this doesn't need to be the be all and end all of your fitness journey. There's plenty of other ways you can, you know, get to where you want to be. And if tracking calories is not working, but I mean, if it doesn't, suit you as a person and consumes you, and, you know, becomes obsessive and becomes unhealthy, like what you said, like, why are you doing it then? Like, there's no point. There's other ways to get around that, isn't there?
I think like warning signs. So if you're tracking calories and you're completely fixated with the number and it ruins your day, it's affecting your mood, it's ruining your life, it's spoiling the fun of your life to the point where you're going for a meal and you're getting upset that you can't fit it in. If it's this ultimate control and this really like restrictive thing, then we need to look at
there's other ways.
We need to look at other ways to
constantly thinking about the next meal. So having your breakfast, thinking about how many calories you've got left for lunch and dinner, how many calories you've got left tomorrow for your snacks. It's like a constant consumption of like,
if it's over consuming your whole life, then that's like a red flag. I would also say another red flag is if you can only maintain your results while tracking, it's a red flag. So I've had a client where like, I can't remember, like 3 years in, she's like something about tracking calories. I'm like, well, why are you still tracking calories?
It's a long time to track calories.
But every day, like absolutely exhausting. That's not what it's for. It's a tool for the short term. I mean, I don't use it at all anymore, but it's a tool for the short term. And it's a learning exercise. So when you're doing it, you should be learning alongside it so that you can come away from it. So like my client journey is, if they start tracking, the client journey is, we start tracking, I look at their food, I give them advice on how to adapt to their current diet. Normally it looks like adding more meat, fish, eggs, dairy, reducing, changing portions, let's just say, with regards to carbs, not like taking them out, but reducing them. Maybe reducing some of the shit, you know, like the stuff that we love, but just like, you know,
being
reducing
more
it down.
with it,
and then also building a better pattern of eating. So instead of having no breakfast and a massive dinner and then a shit ton of snacks, we instead have 3 meals that are nutritious. We get fried fruit and veg in. So we're just changing the structure of how they're eating. And then the natural path after that is right, we've been doing this and we're getting good results. Let's take tracking away and just now focus on the habits. So like keep your meals pretty much the same, focus on the habits. And then when we get to a maintenance phase, it's like, right, okay, so these portions can increase. Now let's see how we go with that. And like that is it, so that then you're set up for life. Okay. It should not be you lose weight and then regain it all every time you stop. You haven't done the work. And so let's go back to the ultimate goal of this podcast. If someone wants to lose weight without tracking their food, what do they do?
I would say one thing is if you didn't want to be tracking your calories, I'd say one thing is portion control is a really big thing. Like I always say, like, I think you've mentioned it before and stuff, like if I were weighing tracking my tea and I'd made my tea for me and Paul, am I going to do the same plate as Paul? If I've got a fat loss goal in mind, I used to like pile the same food on and think I could eat the same as Paul, and that just would not work for me. And then I started just making my portion sizes smaller, like, or like using like, and I don't want this to seem like a bit of, I don't know whether, not an obsession type of thing, because I think this works for me and this is more helpful, but I'd start using smaller plates on when I'd have, do you know what I mean? Like it might not work for everyone.
What's
but
to do with portion though?
I'd start using smaller plates and like making sure that I weren't overloading, and that's like something like a simple tool that I don't need to get my phone out and start scanning every single thing. It's just, I know I'm eating less, I've got a smaller plate, it's not piled on.
So with regards to portion sizes, I think that's great. one thing that I usually do is I stick to set portion sizes. So when I get one of those pouches of rice, I just always have half.
Things like this,
If I'm making pasta, I always have like 75 to 100 grams dry pasta. That's just a portion for me. Whenever I'm having, like bread, I don't have 3 or 4 slices of toast. I just have 1 or 2.
Being very mindful
and it's just
with
like
your portions.
I'm like. So there's just set portion sizes that I like to stick to that work for me. And these are the types of things that I teach a client. Now, if I have a client who's super tall, super young, her portions are probably going to be a bit bigger than mine.
Yeah.
But that's unique to her. Do you know what I mean? Or if she's like an elite athlete or something, she's going to be eating more. So you this is something that you could kind of work out yourself, or you could do with a coach like one of us, where it's like working out what portions work for you. One thing that I learned, I did a nutrition course, and it was all about using your hand for your portion sizes. They were not about tracking calories at all. It was all about nutrient dense foods. And I just thought that this was really helpful, and I still use it now. There's a guide on the Lift and Glow app about using your hands for portion sizes. It's basically a palm full of protein, okay? So your protein is big. Like if you had a plate and you put your hand on it, it's pretty big. It's not half a chicken breast. It's not half a tin of tuna. It's not 2 tablespoons of yogurt. It's fucking big, okay? So you've got your protein, and then the next thing is a fist, and this is a fistful of carbs. So think about a fist of oats or a fist of pasta. My fist of pasta is pretty much 75 grams pasta. The rice that comes through, obviously wraps and things like bread don't fit into that, but that's again, like a good guide.
One wrap.
It's all about just being mindful of it.
And also, like I'm saying, 1 fist, so that doesn't mean half a packet of rice and a wrap. It doesn't mean half a packet of rice and sweet potato. It's like 1 carb. Now I don't want this to be like feel super restrictive, but this is just how I would generally like build a plate. Palm of protein, fist of carb, thumb of fat. Now obviously avocado I usually have a bit more because it's got fibre in too. But things like your butter, your oil, needs to be had, but it shouldn't be like a huge
this
thing.
Is what I mean.
Shouldn't be big tablespoons of it. And then final thing is 2 big handfuls of plants. So like this is the thing that people do not add to their plate. So they're struggling on 1,700 calories. I'm like, well, because you need more volume.
And there's no fibre.
Like, you need fibre. So, if you're making a bowl of oats and it looks this small, why don't you add a big fat handful of blueberries and a big fat handful of strawberries, and then it looks this big? Or if you're having chicken and rice and you're like, oh my God, there's fuck all on the plate, add loads of salad and it looks like a lot. If you're making a pasta, I make a pasta all the time, and I like to play this game. Anyone who follows me on Instagram will know. But I'm like, how many plants can I fit in this meal? And I'm like, mushrooms,
pasta's
peppers,
the easiest thing to do
peas.
with as well.
I literally bang it all in. My plate looks big.
And it doesn't half fill you up.
But it is only 75 grams of pasta, and it's just bulked up by all these plants.
I think as well, like where people go wrong is that they think like because it's a lot of volume, people think, oh, well, that's where I'm going wrong because I'm eating a big meal. But I can almost guarantee you now, you eating too much salad or veg is not why you've gained weight. I can tell you now. Like, when someone will say, like, do you think I'm having too much broccoli? I don't think that it's that.
It's not.
I think it's possibly your
or
other
the,
habits.
Is it the banana or is it the mango I'm eating? I'm like, no, babe, I think it's the wine at the weekend.
To the full bag of Maltesers we just nailed and then add broccoli. But like, I think it's like, obviously there's other veggies that we have to be like mindful of. So for example, like the starchier things, isn't there? So like things like your carrots and parsnips maybe don't have the same calories as a handful of spinach. But again, that's education. So work with a coach, work with like search online. Like if you don't have a coach, if you're not willing to commit to that, like have a little research online, because a lot of like the like watery vegetables, like salad leaves and things like that will be very minimal in calories, and the starchier things like the root vegetables might be a little bit higher in calories.
But also, I honestly think if you stick to those portion sizes and you do that 3 times a day, you are not overeating.
No, you can't. You can't.
You're not overeating on fruit and veg if you do those things. If you have a normal dinner plate and that dinner plate is not overflowing and you follow that structure of the hand portions, you are not. You cannot overdo it. Like whether you're having carrots and parsnip, you're just
it's not going to be that. It's no reason.
The thing is like, as well. So if you have 3 meals portioned like that, you should need minimal snacks. So this is my next tip for if you don't want to track. Is that if you eat like that, you will feel full. And I want to bet you,
my
like
God, you will feel full.
You'll feel full. But if you do want a snack, can you just have one snack a day?
Yeah.
And does that need to be a share bar? No. Does it need to be something like, it might be that you have one nutritious snack, which might be an apple, but then your other snack might be a small chocolate bar.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the big share bar.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a bag.
Or
just
a
get the
packet of
ones.
Quavers or a couple of Baby Bell Lights.
Yeah.
Or you don't need to be having like cakes, pastries, all of
Yeah.
those things. Have them time to time. You're like 90-10. Have them time to time. But like, it's not an everyday thing.
No.
So if you have those 3 high protein meals, minimize your snacks.
Yeah.
That is a really great, and your portions are controlled in that way.
Portion control. It's a big thing.
Amazing. You will. I bet that most people listening to this would see progress doing that.
I don't even think they realise how important that is, though, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
with the portion control, just being mindful of how much we are actually consuming that we probably don't need. We're just being a little bit greedy.
Yeah, but just how simple that is. You know what I mean?
So simple.
And I think the next thing that I would say as well is managing your hunger. So like managing your hunger, we've already mentioned high volume, high fiber foods, and also eating spread out 3 high protein meals. So if you miss breakfast, you're going to be starving by lunch and you will want to eat the world. So eat before you get hungry.
Yeah.
Like this is something that I always speak to clients about. I'm like, you don't. So one of the biggest things, like one of the biggest pushbacks, bits of resistance that I get, I'd be like, why did you miss lunch? Or why did you miss breakfast? Or why did you not have a proper tea that night? They're like, weren't hungry. I'm like, so do you need to feel starving to eat something nutritious? Like you don't, like, my dog might not come sniffing at my feet, but I still know to feed her.
Yeah.
Like your baby, like, might not be screaming, but you still know they need lunch.
Food.
Like, we know that living beings need food.
I think it's dangerous leaving it till you're hungry.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
because then
that's the whole point of what I'm saying. Is that, like, if you skip meals,
don't do it because
you let yourself get hungry, and when you're hungry, you don't.
You
make
go
the
on a
best
rampage.
decisions.
That applies to what you said in the beginning about breakfast. How many clients I have had, and how many even just friends that I speak to who don't eat breakfast. Partly because like maybe they don't know what to eat. I don't know. Maybe it is an education thing, or they just lack ideas. But I think breakfast is, I still stand by, the most important meal of the day, because especially with like my hormone situation right now, if I start my day by fasting, not eating, training, like it's going to put a lot of stress on my body, and then waiting until lunch to eat. I've already got that existing stress levels like super high in my body. I'm going to make different choices, but also I'm not in the best position to cope with hunger because insulin sensitivity is like a big thing to do with PCOS. But again, just people in general, if you have for breakfast like one croissant with Nutella on, it's carb heavy, in both senses, from like complex and simple perspective.
You're riding the sugar roller coaster from the day.
So the minute
and then
you
you've
set
the tone for the day. Then I think
you've set the tone. That's the key thing. You've set the tone. So if you have a balanced plate, you can't go far wrong. You don't have to go into the nitty gritty of blood sugar. If you've had, like you've just said, fist of carb, like palm of protein and something else, doesn't matter what's on it. You can have your little bit of Nutella, but as long as you balance it with a bit of fat and a bit of protein too, you will still balance your blood sugar a little bit better and help you with your hunger levels. Yeah,
definitely. That's like such a good point. So one thing that I get a lot, I'm not hungry. And I'm like, okay, well, are you waking up and having a coffee? Like, I have 2 coffees. Like, well, that's why you're not hungry in the morning because coffee is going to suppress your hunger. So one of the kinds of guidelines that I have for my girls is just to help. Like, I know the importance of eating a big breakfast because I've been on the whole fertility thing, and it's very similar to the whole PCOS thing, balancing blood sugar, balancing your energy levels. Your body cannot feel deprived or starving, or, you
like feel safe in your own body.
And your blood sugars, and you need to be well fueled. Caffeine on an empty stomach. I noticed when I stopped having caffeine on an empty stomach, my periods completely changed. And I was like, oh, this is actually working.
Training fasted.
All of that stuff. So one thing that I'm big on, whether you have fertility problems or hormone problems, it doesn't matter. It's a healthy thing.
We all have hormones anyway.
Yeah, we all have hormones. It's a healthy thing to do, to wake up, have a nutritious breakfast. Eat your breakfast first, then enjoy your coffee. Like, that is just like a hard and fast rule for me. It is. And so like, that's gonna, if you're not hungry in the morning but you're waking up and having coffee, well, just wake up, have breakfast first, then have your coffee. That fixes that. You'll keep yourself well fueled. Your energy will be better. Your hunger levels will be better. Cravings will be better because you are maintaining your body, keeping it fueled throughout the day. You're not waiting for yourself to get starving. You're not letting yourself to start struggling. So you're gonna make better decisions.
I don't like the whole, I just don't eat breakfast. I just don't like it. I just don't like veg. Like, I'm sorry to say it might be controversial, but at this ripe old
grow
age,
up.
grow up. Literally. Like we all do things that we don't want to do from time to time. And I can promise you now, hey, you've said about eggs. You never used to like eggs until you started like really getting into them and making them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you've just got to do it a little bit and then you go, that's not so bad.
Yeah.
I have this conversation about veggies with clients all the time. I don't like veg, but it's like, well, just try them in different try them in a sauce, blend
I used
them
to be like that. I was that
things.
You were the same.
I was literally 25 and wouldn't eat vegetables, and I just had this conversation with myself, like, get a fucking grip, girl. Like grow up.
And now you learn to love them. I think. Like,
I'm playing the how many plants can I get in every meal?
Or the tables it, like you'll find different ways, like make a pasta sauce with your veggies all soft, and then you won't even taste them.
I just also think, like, you know, if you're on this health journey and you're like, oh, but I don't like that, I don't like that,
then it's just like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, well,
what do you want to do?
We're trying to help you. These things are going to help you, so you can either like. Anyone can make a change at any point. It's all about training your body and teaching you. We're very, very adaptable. Like we're literally like always changing, and we're very adaptable to new things. And a lot of my clients who didn't eat any breakfast, who now eat breakfast, are waking up hungry for breakfast.
Yes.
They love their
that's
breakfast.
How it should be.
And
we should be waking up hungry.
They feel the benefit of it. Like they've got better energy. The cravings are better managed. And it's weird because you do lose weight when you feel like you're eating more. Because they're snacking less, and like this.
Because you're not depriving yourself then, and then you're restricting yourself, and it's like a cycle.
Exactly,
then
they're not getting to lunchtime and having like 1,000 calories because they're starving.
Or having foods that are low volume, high caloric density. So then people go,
you're not
I
full,
used to only have a slice of toast and Nutella. Yeah, but you were having a tablespoon of Nutella, which is like you could have like 3 eggs for that. So like I think sometimes
and it never fills you up for that amount of time. As long as you've got that volume food, you feel like I had a salad yesterday and like I could not believe like how big it was, and I couldn't even finish it because it was that big, and I was so full up. But you know, if like you'd ordered like a takeaway or something, you'd have a bit and then you wouldn't be satisfied, and then about 5 minutes later you think, what else can I eat?
It's like a Mackey's. So I was checking a client's food diary today, and she had 10 chicken nuggets and a double cheeseburger, so it came to 900 calories. And I was like, you know, whatever, I'm not mad about the Mackey's, but just have the double cheeseburger or the nuggets. Like, don't have both,
the other,
because in the grand scheme of things, I know it doesn't look a lot of food, but it is calorie dense. And it's like, if you'd have replaced that with a nutritious meal, you could have had a 600 calorie
burgers.
You could have had a 600 calorie meal, and that could have been like really nutritionally dense, and it would have filled you more than just a burger. Moving on to more tips. So we've done portion sizes, using your hands, sticking to a set meal structure. So like 3 meals a day. Minimizing your snacks works really well for my clients. The other thing that I would say is mindfulness.
Yeah, mindfulness.
So too many women don't understand that the nutrition choices are based off like emotional regulation. So like
I'm an emotional
eating. Emotional eating's huge. You know, like stress eating's huge. Boredom eating's huge. And like I spoke about it before, but like we are just too busy distracting ourselves with anything we possibly can. And it's not serving us. So I think it's really, really important that people are like general day-to-day mindfulness. So it's waking up in the morning, taking a breath and thinking, how am I going to fuel my body?
Being more present with
how
it
do
all,
I feel
isn't it?
today?
How do I feel today? How am I going to fuel my body? And then making a decision in a calm state. So, and then it's the same sort of thing. And this is why I'm usually saying to clients, you should already know what's for food in the day before the day's begun. Because if you've got a really stressful job or demanding job, and you've been battered by all kinds of shit in the morning, and then you're like, right now I need to go and get me lunch.
You're not prepared. You're acting on your emotions, then fuck it, I'll just have this. And then that just spirals into the day. Then if you've got a bad day, if you're prepared, you've got that food there ready then.
So you're not going to make great decisions.
No.
But if you haven't planned your lunch and you've had that battering, you need to know how to down regulate yourself so that you can make a great decision.
And not act out on them emotions with your food then.
So for example, it's like just sitting and taking a breath. Like can you just sit and breathe in for 4, hold it for 4, out for 4, hold it for 4, and just do that 5 times and then think, right now I'm going to get me lunch.
One of the things my therapist used to say is, because again, that issues with food in the past, is HALTS, and it's an acronym I always remember. I think that's a acronym. HALTS, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, stressed. So HALTS means stop, doesn't it? Like halt is stop. So in that moment, I always still think to myself, halt, like hungry, no, angry, maybe a little bit, low. So you tune into the actual key emotion that you might be, it might be a few of them. And I'll be honest, it doesn't always work. Like there might be times when you act out of emotion, and that's okay, as long as you compartmentalize that, as you said before, and then move on, or tune back into it after. So instead of just going like, for fuck's sake, I've fucked up again, like actually down regulate yourself afterwards and go, whoa, what was that about? Like, Lois, come on, check in now. You were tired there. That wasn't, you weren't acting out of hunger. You were tired. So let's go and have a little lie down for half an hour while you've got a spare, you know, like hour, or, you know, whatever, get an early night. So I think you've got to, like, it's not always perfect, but it's a learning to down regulate, like you said.
Yeah.
Like,
so let's be honest, no one is ever going to not emotionally eat.
No.
Like I could have a really difficult day and nail a shea bar. Like that's still my reality now. Yeah. But those things happen less now that I'm more regulated in general. And also just like similar to HALT, I call it the power of the pause. Like that's what I learned when I was learning about like emotional eating and about relationship with food. And it's basically like just sitting and taking a breath. So when I'm like, oh, I want chocolate, I'm like, what? Like pause, stop, like literally put your fucking phone down, close the laptop, sit.
Have a minute.
What do you actually feel?
That's interesting, so it's like, that phone one. Because like so many people say as well, this isn't something that I was aware of, but like apparently scrolling or just distracting, doing work through your lunch break, which we're all probably familiar with sometimes, or like distracting yourself with anything during eating is not a good for your hunger, your fullness
Hunger
cue.
And fullness cues.
Hunger and fullness cues, leptin and ghrelin, because they won't be triggered by like because you're distracting yourself and doing other things. I didn't even know that, and I was watching that thinking,
you're not mindfully eating then on. You say like you shouldn't really be on your phone and stuff. You should be really present
the
with
fullness
your
cue.
Yeah.
So like because you're distracted,
it's something
like
to do with the chemicals in your brain. So you're getting your dopamine hits
in another way.
And then also like so your brain isn't processing both things. But it's like, you know, don't look for like a distraction. It's like sit with it, you know, like something that I speak about on the Q&A all the time. It's like, okay, you went mad with chocolate. So what were you actually feeling in that moment? Was it that you were lonely? Was it you were bored? You were stressed? Did you just have a difficult conversation? Are you just really fucking tired? Are you slightly hungover from the weekend? Like, know what it is.
There's another problem to manage then, rather than just suppressing it with foods and food.
But if you pause before, so if you sit and pause and you're like, right, okay, I really want chocolate, or I really want to order this chippy, and you sit and pause and you're like, well, what do I actually feel like? It's like, right, I feel really stressed. So is that chocolate going to help? Well, it will if I only have a little bit, so I'm going to do that. Or it'll be like, actually, I've already had a bit of chocolate today, so do you know what? I'm going to sit and have a cup of tea, or I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to ring and I'm going to rant about whatever's just happened.
So you're still managing them stress levels in a different way.
It's doing something more productive than doing something that's completely destructive for your goal. So I think just generally, like mindfulness is going to help everyone in everyday life. Like honestly, it's completely changed my life. So mindfulness anyway is really going to help. But when it comes to food, we do want to be present. We don't want to be sitting watching telly. We don't want to be working. We don't want to be scrolling. And you want to sit and think, like when you have an urge or a craving, or you have this temptation to act that is out of line with your goal, halt or pause and think, what am I actually feeling? And then the next step to the what am I actually feeling is, what's the productive route? And also name the destructive route. So the destructive route is, I get a bottle of wine, I get the chippy, I get the chocolate,
I feel shit
and then
after.
live out how you will feel when you take that destructive route.
I have to have that conversation with myself sometimes. I have to think about what would future Lois want. Like if Lois misses the gym session, then gets a chippy, then does this, I will feel bloated, puffy, grim, fuming at myself.
But I literally
I always think how I
doesn't...
feel now. Like you say, if I weren't happy in myself, and then I go to act out and go like, I do it like, I'll do the pause, but it's I don't do it when I'm sat there. I literally will march in that kitchen. I will go to the fridge, or I'll go to the cupboard, and I always do it. I go to open it, and then I just look at what I'm meant to be getting, like the chocolate, and then think, I go, you don't even want it. You don't want it. You know that you don't want this. And I'm not depriving myself. I know that I'm acting out on boredom, stress, emotionally. And I'm not hungry. I've got no inch in my body that is hungry right now.
And I think as well, when you actually tune into your body and you can feel like how you feel, you think, is this genuine hunger? That's something that you always ask. Am I genuinely hungry, or is this a mental thing? If I'm rumbling in my tummy, then go and eat something. But can you eat something nutritious?
Yeah, I feel like
and negotiate with yourself a bit, because you said about obviously the portion control earlier. Play that into it as well. So sometimes I know that when I'm like due on my PMS, I predict the low mood. I predict how I'm going to feel, and like angry and frustrated and upset. So I always have things in that are a little bit of what I fancy but enable me to still eat healthy. So I love like things like beans on toast, and like this sounds scatty, but like spaghetti
on toast,
spaghetti and sausage in a tin, like that's so scatty, but things like that are like a little secret love of mine. And I'll have things like that in, so that but I'll negotiate, and I'll say I'll have a chicken breast, and I'll have half the tin of beans, not the full tin of beans, half the tin of beans on the toast, but the chicken breast is the rest of the food. And because I've negotiated and had that little bit of health with that little bit of what I fancy, I'm fuller because I've got the protein in the meal and the macronutrients helping me. But also I've stayed true to what I promised myself. So I'll go, it's like talking to a child, like if you're well behaved, you can have the beans. And that's like what I do with myself sometimes. I say, if you have the chicken as well, then you can have a bit of beans and cheese on your toast as well. Like, so you just have that conversation too.
So I think the other thing, so obviously general like emotional regulation, mindful eating, these things really do help. Like eating slower really helps, like chewing your food properly. Brilliant. And then the final thing that I would say that really helps my clients, and I tell them to use this in everyday life, is eating until 80% full. So I don't know if you speak to yours about this, but eat until 80% full. It's like,
very good too.
If you feel completely bursting at the seams after a meal, usually it's a sign that you've overeaten. So you can use this tool in any situation. If you're at a friend's house, if you're, so like a lot of the time I'll get clients who'll be like, I don't want to say no to food when I'm at my mother-in-law's. And I'm like, just eat until 80% full. So then like if she's someone who like is a feeder and gives you huge portions, you could be like, that was fucking lovely, even if it wasn't. That was fucking lovely. I'm just really
I'm so full. That was
so you can use it when you're eating out. You can use it when you're at other people's. You can use it at holidays. You can use it in every situation. Eat until 80% full is part of mindful eating. So when you are eating a meal, it's continuing to check in with your body.
I find that tool like one of the best tools ever, and it's helped me so much.
Because
we all go through phases of having all this food in front of us, and you know, you're indulging that much and you're really enjoying it, and you're just continuing if you're going for a meal. And it's like, I laughed before when you said it, because I've got a friend who literally, because she will be really, really enjoying that. She will get to the point where I'm like, no, stop now. You're like, you're going to vomit. And like, because she's enjoying it. But then every single time she's like, why did you do that?
Well, this is the thing. So when you feel like you
don't want to feel like that after food.
You can't keep your head up. You've got to unbutton your pants. You've got to like, you know,
lie
like
down
after a meal, I've got to lie down. Or like Fran used to be like, rub my belly. I'm like, and it's like, if you know, that is a sign
and
that
then
like
afterwards you're in pain, and like that. Like, I love it when now I use that 80% full, and I think like I'm so content with the meal that I've had, and then I'm like,
you feel good.
Yeah, I feel good after. I don't feel like really bloated and like you said, unbuttoning your jeans, which we've all done, but you do feel sluggish after it, don't you?
So it's the thing is, like, when we all know periods of times or occasions where like, so on a fuck yes moment, I'm overeating doing it. But most of the time it's like, if I'm feeling uncomfortable, we all know a time when we've overate and we feel uncomfortable because of it. So we want to try and stop before we get to that point. So like I'll usually say to clients, like if you're out at a restaurant and you know it's a big massive portion, eat half, check in with yourself, take a minute, how do I feel? You know, if I feel satisfied and I'm no longer hungry, can I just stop? And like just try and, it's part of mindfulness, because you have to be aware of while you're eating a meal. So like when you're looking at your phone, it's easy to overeat and then get that feeling. So you have to be present, you have to be mindful when you're eating, and you have to kind of eat slowly
and having a little minute
to work. And just check in with yourself and think about how you feel, and stop before you get to feeling full. And you can use that in any situation.
So I like conversations quite good as well. Like if you are lucky enough to be, you know, with someone in your living arrangement, I think sitting down and having a meal is invaluable with that person, because not just for quality time, but my nan always used to say to me, put your knife and fork down, let's have a chat. And in the middle of a meal, I'd do that. And then you probably, as you said, hey, you've halfway through and you've gone, God, I'm feeling a bit full now. But if you don't stop to speak or like just another pause, isn't it, in a conversation?
It is a pause.
It's like, it's just checking in with yourself. And I just always remember, because my nan will always say, like, God, breathe, like put your knife and fork down. But it's a typical nan thing to say, isn't it? Like,
you've never been fed.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think we're going to run out of time. So let's wrap this up. We've got sticking to your set portion sizes. You can use your hand, a really easy way to do that. We can stick to a meal structure. So for me, 3 meals a day, 1 snack or 1 to 2 snacks a day works wonderfully. I would also say to volume foods, adding your fruits and veggies. Mindfulness, general mindfulness, as in like emotional regulation day to day, because we know that a lot of overeating comes from emotions and stress and boredom and those things. So general mindfulness, general like emotional regulation, but then also mindfulness while eating. So minimal screens, minimal distractions, really relaxing before you eat and being intentional with eating your meal. And then finally, eating until 80% full, and that just involves you checking in with yourself. And a nice little rule I like to use with the 80% full is, I'm weird, when a napkin's touch the food, I'm not eating. So if I'm like, right, I've got half my chips there and I know I'm feeling satisfied, I just put the napkin on the plate and then I'll stop
what I do.
Is there anything else that you use or...
No, I'd say
those things work well. They work well for me. I think on top of that, all I would say is just like fluids. So like if you drink a big glass of water before a meal, usually you feel a little bit more full.
And another one can be like the food diary situation. So if it's just to avoid tracking, full stop, but you still want a bit of accountability, just write down or photos, because then sometimes you don't realise what you're eating in a day. So sometimes if I've done that and I've gone back and gone, shit, I've got to add that Kinder Bueno, like I can't have another one now. So but like again, you sort of, sometimes you don't realise what you're eating in a day, and then when you actually go back and look at it, you go, oh, I did have a Mackey's for lunch actually.
I think like when you can see it, it makes you're going to be more intentional when you know, like, and obviously getting a coach. If you take photos, they can look at your portion sizes and they can give you advice on it.
And it's you're holding yourself accountable by like showing someone else them pictures. Then I think like with tracking, I feel like it can be a thing of, you can track your food diary, but sometimes you might not be honest with what you're eating, and you might avoid, I think, with tracking sometimes.
Oh, it can be wildly inaccurate.
And like someone might...
A lot of the time it can't work because people aren't weighing the food, whereas they might take a photo of it. I'm like, oh, this, now I can see. If tracking hasn't worked for clients before, as in they're not losing weight and know they're tracking every calorie, when we switch to food photos, it's always fixed because their portions aren't actually what they were having. So I would say tracking food, it's a great tool. You can use it if you want to, but if you're done with it, if you've got those red flags that we mentioned earlier, there are other things that you can do. There's extra support that you can get, and it's not the only way. So
that's
think skills.
Yeah.